Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. It's August the 20th, 2014. The year is going rapidly. We're almost the finish of the 8th month of the year. School is starting shortly, very shortly for the children, and college and all that. And then September in 2 weeks, and it'll be Labor Day. So, the year is just going so rapidly. At the beginning, you think it's so slow, but now, towards the end, it's really revving up. We have a very interesting program for you this evening. We've had a number of requests because of the veterans, military veterans, of course, that have served overseas. Seeing as that we have 2 veterans in our own household that have served overseas, the 3rd veteran was stateside here, but we would like to have all of our veterans, that we are proud of all of them, and that we are happy that they're home, safe with their families, and to do whatever we can to assist in their reintegration into society, into their families, and into the community. This evening, we are very honored and pleased to have with us Cesar Soto, who is a military veteran, served in Vietnam. And as you read our front page, these are Vietnam Veterans Remembered, and he has some absolutely outstanding pictures. I must at least warn you ahead of time, there are a few in there that are a little bit graphic. A lot of them are graphic. You will see bombs and things of that nature, and unfortunately those of the Viet Cong that were killed in battle. So I'm just giving you heads up. If you don't wish to see this, you certainly are free to turn the channel. This gentleman was over there. His experience, he's entitled to show what he has seen, and he wants the public to know he served his country with honor, with integrity, and with valor. And we thank him for that. So if you're ready to watch this and watch our program, we will be showing these pictures and just a glimpse of what this gentleman went through, being in the armed forces. And also on our program is Steve Ramaki, and he is from the Lake County Veterans, is it?
Veterans and Families.
The Veterans and Families. And so we want to thank Steve for nominating Cesar for coming on the program. We greatly appreciate this, more than you know, Steve. Thank you, thank you. So without any further ado, my guest, Cesar Soto. Welcome, Cesar.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service, and thank you for your honor, your integrity, and your valor.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for those pictures that we are going to be seeing, because we are going to be living through just a microcosm of what you saw and heard and lived through at that time. And Steve, we want to thank you for bringing Cesar. And
my pleasure.
It's really remarkable. These gentlemen and ladies that go overseas and serve our country, and people just, the generation has changed, and some don't even recall Vietnam or don't even know about Vietnam. And the hurtful thing is that they don't even teach this in school. They don't teach this. You were there, you served your country honorably, and they don't even know about this war. They don't know about the Vietnam War. They don't even know about the World War II. They have or the Korean War. They have no idea. Young people growing up nowadays, they're not being taught history that they need to know. And I think that that really should change, because I think for all intents and purposes, with whatever I can do to help you, if you want to go into the school systems and in the junior high school or in the senior high school, and let them know, we'll go through this, and of course, you know, this will be on my YouTube. So, Lara, if you want, you can put the YouTube address down there at the bottom, and they'll be able to see this on YouTube. There, okay, that's my YouTube address, www.youtube.com/North Shore Live CC, which stands for Cooper's Corner. So if you contact that, you will find this and many other very thoughtful and mind-provoking programs that the public needs to see. I must thank you, the viewers, for contacting the Mr. Amu series. That was, well, it's just one right now, but Mr. Amu is the attorney here from Illinois with 4 college degrees, master degrees. Eddie is an attorney, and his is the judicial corruption in Illinois. At this point, before I left the house, it was 2,608 views in 1 month. I think that speaks volumes. 2,608. Probably more by the time we're finished. But well, okay. Whichever way you want to start. Steve, you want to start us off?
Well, I'll just make Mr. Soto attended one of our public presentations that we entitled Managing the Memories of Combat. As an organization, we're charged with providing mental health case management services to any and all military, veterans, active duty, and their family members. And everything we do is free of charge. And one of the activities that we've been promoting, like I said, is Managing the Memories of Combat, where we have invited combat veterans to share their experience, their combat experience, with the public, and talk about how they continue to deal with those memories and how they manage them and go on with their life. And in actually our second presentation, Mr. Soto attended one of those presentations, and after the featured speaker of the evening finished sharing his experience, Mr. Soto spoke up and began to tell us ours. And then since then we have invited him, and he has graciously accepted to speak for us on quite a few occasions now, actually. And he has always said yes when we ask him. And his story is, excuse me, unique to the times, and we want the public to know, and we want to promote the idea amongst veterans that it's okay to talk about it.
Sure.
Okay, we'd rather have veterans sharing their experience, finding each other, and talking about their experience in a manner that honors them, rather than what some veterans have done, which is to try to manage those memories in ways that end up being harmful. And so we want them to come out, we want to pay attention, we want to listen to what their experience was. So.
And why not? Because after all, he fought under the colors of the United States flag, and did us proud, did his combat service, and we thank you again for that. So what branch? We don't even know. What branch of service were you in?
I was in the U.S. Army, particularly with the 101st Airborne Division. It's got a long history in the military of not only World War II, but Korea War, Vietnam War, and they have done quite a bit participation in those particular areas. One of the things that really attracted me with what Steve and his program had to offer was the fact that there are 22 suicides per month in this country by young, not Vietnam veterans, but Iraqi and
Iraqi.
Afghanistan vets, okay? And that's intolerable. That shouldn't be, okay? And a lot of these kids leave behind a young family, you know, a wife, children. And it's just really heartbreaking. And when I found out that I could be a part of this, I told Steve early on, I said, you know, I'm willing to talk to any one of these guys 24/7, you know.
Sure.
Middle of the night, they're contemplating
Whatever.
suicide. Call me, we'll go have coffee, we'll talk, we'll pray, we'll laugh, whatever. Whatever it takes to get past that.
Good.
And then, you know, have some follow-up with professional help. And that's still, you know, I'm still open to that. I went in the Army at a very young age, age 17. My parents signed for me. And went through the normal basic training, went through paratrooper school. And after
Where'd you do your
my basic,
your 16 weeks? Yeah, 16 weeks.
my basic training was in Fort Jackson, in
Oh.
South Carolina, I think it was.
Oh.
And from there, I was sent to California for the second 8 weeks AIT. From there back to Fort Benning for paratrooper school, and then to Fort Lee, Virginia for rigger school. And then from there to Korea, of all places. And I don't know what happened, you know, somebody at whoever makes these assignments said, you know, wow, you know, send this guy over
This
there.
guy all over the place.
Yeah, and when I got there, they didn't have a slot for a rigger, you know. So they sent me to an artillery outfit, and 4th and 76th Artillery with 2nd Division. And somewhere along the line, I got very bored because what they did was they went out and practiced and back in and practiced and back in. And they were basically putting on a show, I guess, for North Koreans because we were close to the DMZ,
Okay.
you know, firepower. And so I put in for a transfer, got it that quick.
Wow.
They sent me home for Christmas that year, 67. And then in January 68, I was in Vietnam. And that was the roughest year that they had in that war. The casualties were over 18,000 just that year alone on our side. And, you know, there was a lot of fighting. There was the Tet Offensive in Saigon and everywhere. The Vietnamese tried to attack, you know, everywhere they could, where they felt we were vulnerable. But we responded, you know, in kind. And some of these pictures reflect the aftermath of a human wave attack. And that consists of men shoulder to shoulder across the horizon, 3 or 4 rows deep. And those 3 or 4 rows, they all have bombs on them. And their job is to blow a hole in the barbed wire so the rest of the guys can come through. So you can imagine, after all the fighting, at the end of the evening, you know, when it began to dawn, they disappear. They had tunnels and so on, you know, and ran off into the woods. And what was left was pieces of their bodies all over the place. And so we had the grisly task of going out there and picking them up.
Pick him up.
And because by 10 o'clock in the morning in Nam, it would get to be about 110 degrees.
Wow, wow.
And so
Heat.
that begins to smell. So they would dig these trenches, and we'd pick up whatever we found and, you know, throw them in those trenches, and they'd be covered up. And then we'd make repairs to our perimeter and that kind of stuff. I went up with, I started out with Charlie Battery, 2nd 320th Artillery, and they were operating in the area of the DMZ, Phu Bai, near Da Nang, you know, kind of thing. They had multiple operations up in that area. The biggest one was in the Ashaw Valley. We lost a lot of guys there. It was a very, very tough battle. we did a lot of shooting artillery into that area. Just as much as we could. The enemy tried to attack us consistently. They would sometimes put us to bed at night with mortars and wake us up in the morning with mortars. They were short little 50 millimeters, but they can do damage if you're close enough. They would harass us. So we had, thankfully, up on this fire base, which was located on top of a mountain, we had infantry that was around the perimeter, and there were guys that had come out of the field after search and destroy missions. This was their rest, and they could perimeter guard for us. They had there are different procedures. One of them that surprised me, caught me by surprise one night one morning, was they decided that every once in a while they decided to get rid of all their old ammo. So they call it, they just start shooting, okay? And they shoot up all their ammo, and we thought we were being attacked, As it turns out, they were just, cleaning out their weapons, Then they replace the old ammo with new ammo, because out in the field they go through water, they go through everything, and their stuff gets wet, So they called it a mad minute, okay? And we found out after, they cut loose with that. At one place that I was on, fire support base Birmingham, we had a friendly fire incident. 3 500-pound daisy cutter bombs were dropped on the position. A bunch of guys were killed. I came out of a hooch, a bunker, in time to catch part of the first explosion. What happened was there was a guy standing there, and I saw him disintegrate. Like mist.
Just
Mist. He wasn't blown apart or anything. He just, the concussion of this bomb, the power of this bomb just disintegrated him. There was destruction all over the place. We had 20 some odd casualties, I think 13 dead that day. And I won't forget that day. It was March 16th, 1968. It also happens to be the same day of the My Lai incident, the My Lai massacre. That some individuals ended up paying for that. But on the day-to-day basis, the smell, that was the first thing that impacted you when you hit the country, the smell. The place smelled of death constantly, okay? And there was some beautiful, beautiful scenery, but somehow, we missed it because it was just a depressing place. We fought the heat in the monsoon seasons. We fought the rain. Everything was wet. Nothing was dry.
bugs, mosquitoes, spiders.
Bugs, mosquitoes, snakes. You name it, it was there. We had every possible element, like against us, as we're trying to conduct this war. We moved a lot. I think I started basically in a place called Phan Rang, which we knew it as Fangus Rangus. And the unique thing about this place was it had this very dry red dust like powder. And you could walk 10 feet to a shower, take a shower, and come out of there and put your feet down very carefully, and you'd still raise a little cloud. That's how fine that was. So if you're walking back from a shower and a helicopter happens to go overhead, forget it. You're all red, So from Phan Rang, they moved us up into the highlands in Phu Bai area. Places like LZ Sally, Fire Support Base Birmingham, Fire Support Base Bastogne. We had different operations that we went on consistently and supported the infantry on. We did some with the 1st Cav. It was just constantly, there was something going on all the time, So it was a massive effort on our part. And some of these pictures will,
Yeah, I think we're gonna start with the pictures. Larry can go ahead and start with that.
Okay, this is me up on one of the artillery pieces. Actually, it's a tank, and there's a 50 caliber up on top, and the name of that tank was Bullwinkle, so it was me and Bullwinkle. Okay? And it was one of the many pieces of equipment that were, we worked with that went out to different places, and this was mobile. This was jump school. Okay, the reason you see so many parachutes open, they call that a Hollywood jump, where they had all these 5 or 6 airplanes side by side, all these guys jumping out, and sometimes you get a situation where you land on somebody's canopy when you're still in the air, and you kind of walk to the edge and off, because you don't want to collapse in. These are the ladies that work for the Red Cross. They all have our patch on, and they came to our unit frequently.
Are they just Red Cross, or are they
were
military?
Red Cross. No, they were Red Cross
Red Cross?
girls. Yeah, they brought treats and stories and mail and things like that. This was our transportation company, and the big bladder, you see the round thing in the left there, is the fuel. So they would fuel up out in the field, and then we'd take off and go do whatever we had to do when we had to move. That was a picture somebody caught of me taking a rest, but you could see the background. It was beautiful there.
It looks.
Okay? But
Yeah.
somehow lost the appreciation for it.
The appreciation when you're fighting a war. My
Right.
goodness.
This is from the back of an airplane. I got this from an Air Force guy that shows another airplane while they were spraying Agent Orange. This is very bad stuff.
That
They could
defoliates the.
defoliates
Yeah.
within a very short period of time, and it's just unfortunately some people were under it, when they dropped
Came
it,
down.
and they didn't realize the long-term effects of this. This is an explosion of white phosphorus. White phosphorus is very dangerous. The catalyst is oxygen. If it gets on you, it has to be cut out. Okay, it cannot be smothered or put out with water. It has to be cut out, and it has to be smothered to get to an aid station. Very bad stuff. These were the types of artillery rounds that they fired consistently. Sometimes we had fire missions all night long, in support of the infantry, all day long. This was one of the grunts, infantrymen coming back from an ambush all night. It was his first cigarette, and you could see he was, pretty sweaty and tired. That was me in basic training.
Hey, you don't look too much different. Not
Way
too
back
bad.
when, showing off. Then this is a 155. This is probably the most accurate gun that they had. This thing, you could fire it over and over again. It wouldn't move, but not even 50 meters. It would shoot in
Incredible.
the same spot. Very loud.
That was
again.
how their hearing is, my goodness sakes.
Right. This is our transportation company again, dropping people, they grunts off onto a mission, onto the ground. And this was one of the guys crawling through, I don't know who got this picture, but he was crawling through a rice paddy, and they were being shot at during that time. You see, he keeps his weapon up out of the water,
Yeah.
but his ammo clips were in the water. That's why I said they got rid of that. This is the old cell phone, radio telephone operator.
The old cell.
This is our Vietnam version of a cell phone. RTO was probably calling in artillery or an airstrike as ordered. This was our form of communication out in the field. Now this woman her child was struck against a rock by North Vietnamese army. They went into a village that we had just left, and they knew that they were helping us, and so they didn't want to say anything, and so they grabbed this woman's baby from her arms and smashed him against the rocks. And when we came back, she was asking us for plastic
So you could
to
bury
wrap
him.
him in. Yeah, but you could see. This was guys that found a tunnel, and usually the smallest guy in the company would go in there, a tunnel rat, with a flashlight and a 45, and go in and see what was in there.
Find.
Highly dangerous job, not a good thing to be. This guy, I think he was short, meaning he was getting ready to go home soon. When you're short, you stay on top of the bunker. You don't stay in there, so he was reading the paper, getting ready to go home probably, Yeah, and that's
That's not all of them. I think there's more.
I don't know. No.
No, that's it? That was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but anyway, it was,
that's,
a day-to-day struggle
wow.
with
wow.
things. And, when it was over, I came home, and I'm from New York City originally. There was no welcome home for us. We were being spit upon as we came home and cursed at, and they were calling us baby killers and murderers. And me in particular, about 3 weeks after I got home, I was coming back from I had been in a bar having a couple of beers, and this group of 7 people came in, and my hair was short, and they were longer hair as hippies then.
Hey, yeah.
And they figured out that I was just out of the military or still in the military. They started harassing me, and one of the women started rubbing herself up against me, trying to cause a problem, and so the bartender had been a Korean War veteran.
Oh, he's military vet.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he got upset. He picked up a baseball bat and told
That's
him
what
to
they
get
carry,
out. Yeah.
baseball bats.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
So he told him to get out. And so they left. About half an hour or so later, I left, and this was in the theater district on around 46th Street, somewhere around there, between Broadway and Avenue of the Americas. And I was walking towards the subway, and I walked past the entrance to one of the theaters, the stage entrance, and I hear a noise, like somebody groaning or something, so I went in to see, and I got trapped. They beat the living daylights out of me.
Oh, my.
Okay? They spat on me, they kicked me, they urinated upon me before I passed out. Okay? So that was my welcome home, When I left the hospital, I didn't know what to do. I didn't even have ID, and I think as soon as I became conscious, I don't know how long I was there, the nurse left, and I grabbed my clothes out of a closet and just snuck out.
They took everything? They robbed you?
Yeah, my wallet and my money, everything. And so I just walked, and I think it was Roosevelt Hospital on 57th Street or something. But I walked from there to the Brooklyn Bridge, and I contemplated suicide. I just, looked at the water and thought, wow, this is what I'm waiting for, what I waited for all this year. Forget it. But then I decided, to go visit a friend's house. I didn't want to go to my parents' house because I was really, black and blue marks and cuts and everything. So I went to my friend's house and I said, "Can I stay here till I heal?" Yeah, and so I stayed there for a while. And when I felt better, I went back to my folks' house. Told them I'd been visiting. I just didn't want to tell my mom, or anything. But that was, pretty much. I don't know if that has repeated itself with other people, but I know that the media at the time was very much against the Vietnam War. They called us, as I said, murderers, baby killers, all kinds of stuff. And, that just really didn't help the situation at all.
And really the worst thing is that after we pulled out of Vietnam, it became enveloped all over again with the communists. So
Exactly.
what is it exactly that we won? What war did we win? The war with the people, the war with freedom, the war with, what did we win? Caesar.
I really don't know. I personally and many other veterans, we still have the memories and we suffer PTSD.
Oh, sure.
There are issues, in our lives that, presently I may be facing a divorce, because of temper, anger, that kind of stuff. And it's uncontrollable sometimes. There are flashbacks that you don't, expect when you least expect it. My wife was out on vacation in May with her brother, and I was in the bathroom and I was collecting water. I had the water on and the stopper on to be able to shave. And next thing I know, I looked up and I'm on the floor. There's 2 inches of water, and I've been going through a flashback.
Oh, my.
Okay, and well, it did damage to my house. I had to go repair the ceiling and all that later. But you know, it's just it comes. You never expected it. And,
You don't
know,
expect it.
and sometimes it's very aggressive. Sometimes you know it's just a little bit more passive. But you know, I was on my knees on the floor crying, is when I came out of that. You know, so it's things like that that you know.
Is your wife, is your family, are they able to cope with, you know, after all, you were taken out from America and taken and put into another culture, into another world, into another country. And you had to, you know, get yourself all prepared for this. And then coming back home, it's like you're reliving it because
Even worse.
You've lived that for so long. How long were you overseas?
I did altogether almost 2 years. You know,
That's
2 years.
that's unbelievable
But
timeline.
You know, one of the things that really struck me is the conflict that we had in within us. That you're sent to a foreign country and you're told to kill people because they're designated as enemy.
Their enemy.
But then you come home and people want to hurt you, and you can't do anything because the law is going to put you away.
Sure.
You know, you can't, you know, it's like they can do whatever they want, but you can't, you know, because, you know, something will happen to you. And, you know, you don't, that's the last thing they could take from me is my freedom, you know, and that's really valuable to me, you know.
Of course, to everyone. To everyone.
You know, and I just don't, you know, understand why people would go out of their way to instigate a situation or problem. I go out of my way to avoid them, you know.
Steve, were you going to say something? I mean, do you get other military vets that have these same problems, or worse, lighter, or worse? What's the degree?
Well, there are, you know, all levels of degree, from, you know, people maybe just mild irritation to, you know, what Mr. Soto was describing
severe,
in terms of very profound, you know, experiences that, you know, just come up without a lot of warning, or, you know, and what we know is that the worst thing to do with those experiences is try to keep them secret, you know, and unfortunately, you know, many of us were taught in our younger years that the way you handle pain is, quote, forget about it or don't think about it, and, you know, frankly, those are not management strategies, so to speak, that work.
That doesn't
and
work.
So, you know, I've heard Mr. Soto share that experience a few times now, and when you ask me to speak, it's like I'm speechless. It's like, what can I say in response to that? And you know, except to honor him and honor that experience, and in some small way wish to provide opportunities where he and others who have had those experiences can continue to talk about it and honor it, rather than the experience he had when he first came home of being dishonored.
That's incredible.
You know, that's the pain. And, you know, this is what I do full time, and, you know, I'm always struck when we're talking about, it happens to be the era I served in as well, and I'm struck with, you know, when you listen to this experience, you know, it comes back to me to say, we haven't hardly begun to heal from Vietnam.
That's right.
And we have so much that's happened since, up to our current engagements in Iraq and Afghanistan. And, you know, Mr. Soto was there once, and that was certainly enough. And now we have people serving in the military who are being deployed multiple times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And so we can only wonder what their experience is going to be when they come back home and try to re-enter, you know, the life that they left.
Or when they begin to talk about it, because they're
it's a shattered experience,
Right.
a shattering experience. If you if you thought or you felt you were doing the right thing,
Yeah.
you were told by U.S. government, this is what you need to do, and then you come back and your fellow Americans say to you, or don't even say to you, they look upon you with disdain. That's a terrible thing. But where were they while you were fighting for their freedom? What were they doing? You know, pickpocketing someone, or stealing, or robbing, or
I don't know, but a lot of us had this vision of, the famous World War II picture of the sailor kissing the
kissing
woman
the girl,
in Times
yeah.
Square. That's what we
What you
thought
thought.
would happen, and it was 360 degrees, 180 degrees
180,
opposite,
yeah.
of what we thought. It was just, really disappointing, and so because of that, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about it because we were feared angering somebody, or having them go off on us.
Is that just because it's military taught you that, or is that your own feeling?
No, that was well, my experience was pretty bad. Just getting beat up and this, and I hadn't even said anything to anybody. They just suspected that I was in the service or coming back from the service. So you can imagine, there was a lot of things closed to us. There was no, jobs available. They wouldn't hire us. Nobody wanted to hire a baby killer, in their organization. So they made the healing process much more difficult. Where had we been able to integrate a little bit better, it would have helped a lot, over the long term.
Sure.
Just, being welcomed not just by your family and friends, but
Everyone.
by society.
Sure, society.
And so with this change that's going on now, this current thing with veterans and how they're welcoming these guys home, the church I go to welcomed the guy last year, a Marine sergeant came home. I brought tears to my eyes because the police showed up, motorcycles showed up, the fire
at that.
department showed up. They paraded this guy around, and then he comes home to his church family because he grew up in that church.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was really awesome. But when you stand on the Brooklyn Bridge or bridge and looking down at the water and you're wondering what you got, and you're looking around and cars going by, nobody cares.
Nobody
This is
cares.
New York, coldest place on earth. Forget about it.
That's very troubling because I do my best, as Steve knows and everybody out there knows, that I, extend my hand and not only advocacy to bring people around to understand what's going on, but we're from a military family as well, so I know a little of what you've gone through because this generation with my sons went through with 9/11 and then Iraq and Egypt and Guatemala they sent him to. So, but the worst of it is that you've done your time, you've done your job, you created as best as you could do with your group somewhat freedom for people that were under siege from the communism, from the North Vietnam, and then everybody went home, and it was like you didn't finish the job because they came in and they're all over. It's all over again. All those that gave their lives, all those that were humbled to such situations. This lady who lost her child in the picture that you showed because she tried keeping the Americans safe. I mean, to what avail? I mean, where is the human outcry to the public, to the people, to the country, that we won't forget you. We're there. You help us fight. We'll fight with you. Where is all this? What has happened?
And I don't know. I sometimes wonder myself. It's just this country has been there a lot of times when they needed to be there for people, and for us it was like everybody was away.
Go away.
And they didn't want anything to do with us. So you wonder. You just live with it and go on day to day. And so I wandered around the country for a couple of years. I took jobs, I left jobs, no real
Did
career.
anyone know that you were a Vietnam veteran? Did they
No,
ask
I
you?
never told
You
anybody.
didn't tell anybody.
No,
See,
back then, no, it was a no-no. It's just that it's bringing more trouble upon yourself than you wanted. No,
But-
it's not a good thing.
but wasn't there an awakening, and then the public? I don't know who was in office at the time, but they said, okay, we're going to honor the Vietnam veterans. What about the Vietnam
wall?
memorial? Sure.
The wall is unique. I saw it once, and I got very emotional, and I saw a couple of names that I knew on it. But I think the next time I go to Washington, I got this baggage, and I think I'm going to symbolically drop it off at the wall.
That's what a good thing. I would tell my son, I said, if you think you're carrying too much, go to the door, open it up, take the 2 grips you have and throw it out,
Yeah.
and then close the door. That's the best way. You don't have to have it, physically in your hand. It's there.
Yeah.
Open the door and just throw it out. That's it. You're finished with it. No more. That's it.
And it's never going to go away, and Steve will tell you it's how you manage it and how you deal with it. And the opportunities that he's presented to speak about it, because I wasn't able for many, many years to really speak about it, has been, healing and helping.
It's good.
you
It's
know.
very good. Do you have any children?
I do.
And how are they relating to this?
My son he's in the Coast Guard. He's a public affairs specialist, media. He does this kind of stuff. He's my heart, and he listens to me. When he came home when he was 18 after high school, he said, "Dad, I have a job." I said, "Where?" He says, "I'm going to work for Jewel." I said, "Doing what?" He says, "I'm going to be a bag boy." And I said, "No, you're not." I said, "You're going in the Coast Guard." And he followed my advice. He hasn't looked back since, so he's doing very, very well. And I'm happy. My daughter lives out in Omaha. She's 44, 42, I'm sorry. Sorry, Nikki. And she's a little estranged at this point because, some personal issues between her and I. But, I still love her a great deal. And, I don't talk to her as often as I
This
want.
happens in families. You're not singled out as the only one. You should know this. So
It's just that I was a single parent, and I raised her right after I came back from Nam, and she witnessed a couple of flashback episodes where she was smart enough to call the police and the fire to my house, and all that kind of stuff, And I don't know what that's done to her, really. We've never really talked about it.
you have to understand, you're not the only one suffering. Families suffer with this because we don't know how to explain this. We don't know how to relate, other than the fact is that you're going through a withdrawal symptoms of a situation that was way too heavy for you to handle, and so you've carried it, and now you're trying to, vacate it. But the problem is that the way you're vacating it is on your own when you shouldn't do that. You need to be in a group, and Steve, this is very important. They need
Absolutely,
to be
right.
a group. They need to be together in a group.
Well, and this is the challenge that we live with every day from wherever we sit with dealing with it. And let this be yet another appeal to any other veterans from any era to please give us a call, come forward, we'll help you get connected to other folks. The power that becomes yours once you start to share
Sure.
the experience with others and how you're
And
helping another
they have
person.
great strength.
Yes,
One is
right.
strong, and 2 are stronger, and 3
Yeah.
and 5.
Yeah.
You are a power to be reckoned with. You have
Right.
no idea the strength that you carry.
Well, and Mr. Soto mentioned, that the suicide rate, it's
I know, that's
astronomical, and to this moment in time, now there have been more Vietnam veterans who have committed suicide since the war than were killed in the war.
In the war, oh.
And there was over 58,000 that were killed in the war. And we're concerned that that cycle is going to repeat again until it's really about beliefs, and the belief that, you know, to be a good soldier or a good Marine or a good sailor, it's like you have to buck up, be tough, bear it, don't show your pain.
Yeah, but they're human.
Well, exactly.
It's not a rotor,
and
you know.
that,
machine.
in essence, you know, your intention is to try to. That's what you were taught, and so
Yeah.
that's what your intention is to try to do what you've been taught. But we maybe didn't know some decades ago that that actually causes more harm. And
I was in a, I mean, for a
right.
second, I was in a hospital in country in Vietnam. And I happened to walk over to the other ward where there were people that had lost limbs and had really serious combat injuries, you know, and stuff. And what they had there was a teddy bear like that, that they had all the medals that these guys were given on the teddy bear. And so when the new guy came in and he was crying and complaining about his wounds and, you know, all this stuff,
Tell them to
they
take a
gave
medal.
him the teddy bear.
Oh, they gave him the teddy bear.
Nobody wanted to hear it, you know.
Oh.
They just gave him the teddy bear. So, you know, that's how they
That's
handled
terrible.
it in that, you know.
In that era. Oh, that's
situation,
really
you know.
bad. That's really
Yeah,
bad.
well, and that makes the point, you know,
Yeah, it does.
because, you know, you, like you mentioned, you're not going to forget. I mean, we hear
Yeah.
the stories from the World War II veterans
yes,
who
yes.
can tell you vividly what happened on the beaches of Normandy, for
Oh.
example, and it's like that's the point. You're not going to forget, but you can manage the feelings that go with that memory in ways that don't result in
I
harm.
can tell you, my husband and I visited Pearl Harbor, and we stood on the deck of the Arizona. I wasn't even born at the time, and I just broke out in tears.
Right.
Uncontrollable.
Right.
Because I could feel them underneath in the water. I could feel them through the the bulkheads. I could feel the bodies under there, and I wasn't even born at the time, but it was just an unbelievable memorial.
And that, you know, mentioning the wall, I mean, my opinion is that is a part of our healing. It's like
They need to touch it. They need to go
you need
there.
to
They
go
need
there
to
and
connect.
interact with that
Yes,
experience,
absolutely.
whatever, you know, whether
Absolutely.
you were one who went there or loved someone who was there and
Yes.
lost their life there, whatever your
Yes.
experience is, it's like you can go there and do what you need to do and feel what you need to feel.
You can make any
in that
apologies.
environment.
You can do whatever you need to say. You can leave teddy bears. You can leave flowers. You
Medals.
can. But that was, I mean, that was. If someone thought about that with the teddy bear, why didn't they think about, you know, compassion enough to talk to the person?
Well, you mentioned something a little earlier. It's like, you know, it's not there's not an intention to want to inflict more harm, but
Yeah.
there's a lack of knowing what to do or how to do. I mean, it's not pleasant to listen to the experience, and you know,
It's not pleasant, but the point is that it's not for our betterment.
Right.
It's for the one who's telling the story, their betterment. They're carrying this load that's unbearable to handle. Sit down and be a friend
Right.
for a half an hour or an hour. Let them talk to you. Let them say whatever they need to say, because no one else gave them the respect
Right.
of sitting with them or calling them friend.
I have a client who is a Vietnam veteran and had the experience of killing a young child over there, and that's his PTSD.
See.
And one of the things he shared with me is, you know, when he came home, he wanted to tell his father what had happened,
Right.
and he wanted to share that with his dad, and his father refused to listen to him. You know,
Didn't want to
and
hear.
it's like, was that because his father didn't love him? I don't think so, but his father didn't know
Maybe his father didn't know how to handle
yeah,
it,
that
see?
it would have been just listen. That's
Just
all.
listen, that's
Just
all you
listen.
need, just
Right.
listen. You
It's
need
as
to
simple
have
as
just
that.
somebody sit with you, just listen, that's
Right.
all. You just, it's
Yeah.
so important, and For anyone out there who may be a Vietnam vet, military veteran, and you want to come and tell your story, you're more than welcome to come on the program. Contact me. Here's my email right there. bev.cooperscorner@yahoo.com. And I'll be happy to have you on the program. And just like Mr. Soto, you can be on the program and tell your story. We're more than welcoming any military veterans from any conflict, any theater of war. And we are listening. And as a matter of fact, the world will listen, because this program will be on YouTube. So everyone in the world will be listening, will be watching, will be hearing. And I hope that this is good for you, Mr. Soto, that you understand that everybody's going to hear their story. And somebody might say, hey, I know him. I'm going to get in contact with him. How would someone get in contact with him? Would that be through you,
Well, I'd be
Steve?
happy to share our phone number and
Sure.
encourage and invite anyone
Sure.
to please give us a call. You want to come in and just talk.
Okay.
We have coffee groups that meet around Lake County. You can come into it, and we'll share where those are located as well. But our phone number is 847-377-8386. And we are Lake McHenry Veterans and Family Services. We are a federally funded grant program. It's administered through the Lake County Health Department.
Okay.
And all of what we do, whether it's help you find a place to live or get
Yeah.
you situated with health care, or you want therapy, we
Legal
will
services,
provide those services.
everything.
We should make mention that you're looking for placements for veterans, for apartments or homes or...
Right. One of the difficult needs to meet for some people is housing. Lake County, it needs more what we would consider emergency housing. Someone's living on the street today, it's insufficient to put them on a waiting list
Yeah.
for 6 weeks or
No,
3 months.
they
And,
need
you know,
immediate...
They need, and some of the folks who are homeless also have children with them, and they're
They need...
really desperately in need. And so anyone who has resources to provide some sort of housing, I invite them to call us as well, and we will certainly try
Okay.
to
We
get
put the
someone
word out. We
connected
put
to
the
it.
word
Yeah.
out. Good. Is there anything else that we need to put out so that they need to know that
Well,
military veterans are human beings? What?
Just any of you guys out there from Iraq War, just Afghanistan, please, if you have problems, if you're contemplating taking your life, come see us, talk to us, look for us. And there's volunteers, I'm sure, that, like myself, able to go out and talk to you 24/7. I'll have a cup of coffee with you, we'll talk, we'll chat, whatever. I know because I've been there, and this is the kind of person that you need to speak to, someone who's going through that or knows what you're going through. So before you consider something as drastic as that, think about your families, and if you're married, your children, think about who you're leaving behind and what kind of a legacy you're going to leave for them.
Yeah, that's very dramatic.
Yeah.
Very dramatic when it can be cared for appropriately.
Right.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but someone will listen, someone will be a listening post, give you some direction to go to, and assist you. If you are a military veteran and you are in need of housing, contact Steve, and we'll see what we can do. Or if you are a management company and you are in this area or wherever you might be, I'm sure if you have some available apartments for military veterans and their families, if you could help, that would be wonderful. We would love to give you credit on the air, who you are, the goodness and the good things that you're doing. People need to know that there's kindness out there. Please show it. The only way to do that is contact Steve. What's your number again, Steve?
847 377-8386.
Okay, and so in that fashion, you'll be helping everybody. And maybe they can come in with some assistance for, food or clothing or child care or whatever. One thing does lead to another in good works.
Right.
That I have found.
And a major part of what we do is link people to services that are available. I mean, we see where there's needs that are difficult to meet, but there are a lot of needs that can be served if people will just call us, and we can let them know where they can go to get the kind of help that they
Not to
need.
hold back, to make sure that, you can be cared for, you can be, people will listen to you, they will understand the situation. Military veterans have the right because they were there. And we have the right to be able to assist them, to help them back. And believe me, it's well worth it, because maybe someone in your family is in need. If we can help you, please let us know. Come on the program or contact Steve. Whatever it might be, we want to help you. So without any further ado, I want to thank you so much for coming.
Quite welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
nice warm
Appreciate
hands.
it.
It's cold in the studio. And thanks, Steve, for bringing this wonderful gentleman. I'm sorry for everything you've been through. You did a wonderful job, and your youth was bold and honorable, and with great good intentions. And sorry that other people didn't understand at the time. We're going through a new era. Maybe at this point, people, communities and families will give a listening ear to those that are in need. And
great.
thank God you're back in one piece,
Thank
and you're able to help others. We have to extend our hand to help others. And for you, Steve, thank you for bringing Mr. Soto, and
My honor.
and the fact that you're out there to help other people. That's good as well. And we want to also let you know that if you in fact have any stories that you'd like to tell, military stories, pictures, these are riveting pictures. Absolutely, please let us know. And watch us on YouTube, won't you? And you'll see this story and other stories that are on there. And we thank you for allowing us in your home or your place of business. And have a pleasant evening and a very safe week. And we'll see you next time on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. Thank you for watching.